Hi, I'm John McConnell with John McConnell Yoga. Uh, Another video. I'm in a new place today, Oak Ledge Park in Burlington, Vermont. So it's pretty cool. Excited about it. So I wanted to talk about this trip that I took last week. I went to Laramie, Wyoming, which is where I'm from. Maybe you've been to Laramie. Let me know. But the thing about Laramie, it's this small town. It's like 24,000 people, and it's barely changed at all really since I was born there. There's new buildings that are there, but just the general vibe of the town is pretty much the same. It's really pretty great. And so it's, I don't know, maybe this is how it is for most people going to their hometown, but it's just like this sense of coming back to yourself. And I was thinking of that in terms of yoga because, I think of everything in terms of yoga. And thinking of how that is like what yoga is about in regard to your true self. The whole practice is about coming back to the home of your heart. And it reminds me of the saying, home is where the heart is, and it's in yoga, it's like literally, home is where the heart is. Like home is inside of yourself, which is nice way to think of it. So, in the practice, the idea is that there's this consistency inside yourself that's always steady and never changing. And above that, things might be different. Like you might have different clothes on, you might be older, your skin might change, but the idea is that underneath all that external change, there's this consistent goodness, consistent light of the heart, and that's impossible to change. The only thing about it changing is your perception. Like you can perceive that things are different somehow, but really, if you get back to it, then it's just the same. It's the same goodness, the same light that it's always been. Just like my Laramie, it's like the same underneath everything else. So it's nice to think of your practice in that way, that really all you're doing is practicing to get back to that truth of yourself, truth of your heart, and to have the practice make you feel better than when you started. And the reason you feel better is because it's like you see yourself as yourself, and it feels good to see yourself like that. So I just invite you to really use the practice today as an opportunity to really connect to yourself, to your home in your heart. Okay? So with that, just get a comfortable seat and sit with your eyes closed. And just find a nice connection to your breathing. Steady inhale and exhale. And it's nice, we often start by focusing on the breath because it's just it's consistent, and it's just such a great avenue to yourself. It's like it's like Main Street to your home. So steady inhale and exhale. On the exhale, just let yourself be more grounded in yourself. And on the inhale, a little taller, reaching through the crown of the head. And the whole point of the practice, it's always important to remember, is to connect to your highest self, to connect to your true self, and it's really happiness, connecting to your happy self. And part of that is just recognizing you have a lot to be grateful for in your life. So just as we sit, think of about a half dozen things you're grateful for today, and they don't have to be massive front page stories. Small things are good to be grateful for too, probably more important. So just in your own mind. Right, and bring your palms together at your heart center. And we'll go ahead and chant the sound of Om, and we'll chant together one time. So full exhale, a deep, sweet inhale. Om. Release your hands, open your eyes. Let's get over onto your hands and knees. And it's really hot today, so I apologize if I'm like a little sweaty, but that's the way it goes. Just get into it. All right, so sit in a table position with the creases of your wrists parallel to the front of the mat, knees under the hips. And physically, you can think of home, on a physical level as your low back. Because if you're real safe in your low back, you can do all kinds of back bends, which is what we're going to focus on today. So just find a nice low back curve, a little bit of curve in the low back, and then move the stomach back more toward the spine so you feel real secure. And then let's raise the right leg up, staying steady in the low back, and then extend the left hand forward. And just think about, you got to be steady, broad. Think about the whole low back just being like this broad field. Okay, and then bend at the knee, reach back for the foot. Stay broad in your low back as you reach your heart forward and the knee high. So you don't lose that sense of home in the low back as you reach the heart forward. Just breathe. Keep reaching the knee a little higher, heart a little more forward. And then just release that down. Back to table. Again, just find that sense of broadness in the low back, and then we'll do the other side. So left leg up and right hand forward. Again, broad, open in the low back. And then bend at the knee, reach for the foot, and raise the knee high. It's a nice quad stretch as the heart reaches forward. Steady breathing. Try to stay calm in the eyes. It's nice to think of that sense of the place that you're finding steadiness physically is in the low back, so just real steady. And then be steady in your heart. Get rid of all that external stuff, hides that. Okay, lower the foot, lower the hand, curl the toes under. You might have to walk the knees back a little bit so you can come up into downward dog. So here, to get that sense in the low back, bend the knees and bring the inner thighs back and spread apart like somebody's hands are on your hips. And you're just pushing into their hands. So broaden the hips and then a little scoop in the tailbone. Heart reaching back towards your toes. And then think right from your heart, you're pushing more down towards your hands. And then think about reaching up through the hips and down into the heels. Steady in the breath. And just have the focus on the low back, physically, being steady there. And every breath being more connected, more steady to your heart. Okay, walk the feet forward. Stand with your feet hips distance apart. And inhale, raise the hands high. Reach tall, turn the palms forward, and then just curl a little bit in the upper back. See if you can feel the sense of the low back just getting broader. You can bend the knees a little bit. Tops of the thighs, move back, broaden through the low back, and then scoop the tailbone, lengthen through the low back. Look straight forward. Okay, then feel the steadiness in the low back as you lift and arch in the upper back. But the low back is keeping you secure. It's like that home base. As you brighten from the inside, finding underneath all the external stuff, like that sense of home in your heart, bright in your heart. Okay, then come back to center. Nice exhale, fold down. Let's inhale the right leg back. Lift the thighs, tops of the back thigh, broaden through the hips, and a little scoop in the tailbone. And then maybe you can get a little lower, but keep the action of really opening through the hips. And then bring the front leg back, downward dog. Next inhale, glide forward to plank. And slow down. Point the toes, ground down through the tops of the knees. Lift the thighs and broaden through the hips. Little scoop in the tail as you reach the heart forward and lift the chest up off the floor. Or off the earth. wherever you're practicing today. Nice view here, looking out over the grass. And as you breathe, really think of, you're keeping the low back steady, broad, open, and then you're building on top of that. You're not compromising that. Okay, then lower down. Let's go back to downward dog. Again, every time in downward dog, you can just real quick do the low back opening. So you bend at the knees, broad all the way up through your base of the ribs, and then a little scoop in the tailbone and straighten the legs as best you can. And let's bring the right foot forward to a lunge. Here again, lift the hips, broaden, scoop the tailbone, lengthen through the crown of the head. Steady in your breathing. And back foot forward, fold and forward fold. Next inhale, rise all the way up, bright heart, broad low back, lower all the way back down. All right, left leg back to a lunge. And this time, let's keep the left hand on the mat and raise the right hand up. Still stay broad, open in the low back as you twist your heart toward the sky. Steady in your breath. And really think about every breath is a chance to let go of external stuff you don't need. And what the most important thing is to recognize that underneath all that stuff, there's always you. And speaking from experience, sometimes that's hard to remember. But if you can just hold on to that just even a little bit, it's of great value. Okay, lower the top hand down. And then we'll just go back to downward dog and switch sides. So with the left foot forward and raise the left hand up, twist your heart. Steady, smooth breathing through the nose. Feel that nice feeling of expansion in the inhale, letting go on the exhale, and feel that same sense of expanding the true self, the energy of the true self on the inhale, letting go of what hides it on the exhale. Okay, lower that hand down. Let's go back to downward dog. Reach back, broad, through the low back, scoop in the tailbone, and let's glide forward and lower all the way down. Point the toes, then walk your hands back a little bit. I don't do upward dog very much because it's a pretty advanced pose. So just be safe with it, because that's what we're going to move into, and just have the hands more under the elbows. Push down through the knees and then broaden through the low back, scoop the tailbone, and then start to lift your heart up. And you can imagine there's a spring attached to the tops of your shoulders back to your heels. So it's pulling your shoulders back towards your heels as you come up. And the heart comes forward. The low back supports the whole posture. So broad through the low back, wide, tall, bright heart. Okay, and then curl the toes. Go back to downward dog. The thing about that posture, it feels really safe if you start from that sense of home in the low back. If you're just oh, I got to build a skyscraper, but there's no home to build on, it doesn't work so well. Walk your feet forward. Fold in, forward fold. Hands to the hips. Rise up. Good. So let's bend the right foot and reach back with your right foot with your right hand. Be steady. Raise the left hand up. And then with that standing leg, just bend the knee a little bit. Feel the tops of the thighs move back and broaden through the hips. Scoop the tailbone. Straighten the standing leg, and then you can go ahead and rock forward. Try to keep the hips level as you reach that knee higher. And reach out through your fingers and then look forward. Try to get that left arm more behind your head. Okay, slowly come up, good. At least that will switch sides. So reach for the left foot. Raise the right hand up. Thighs back, scoop the tailbone, and rock forward. So try to get that knee above your hip as you reach your heart more forward toward the front of the mat, beyond the front of the mat. And then see if you can get that right arm more behind you as you melt the heart a little more. Stay safe in the low back. Okay, good. Come all the way up, release the foot. Stand at the front of the mat. Inhale, raise the hands high. Reach tall. Go ahead and interlace your fingers, turn the palms up. Reach up, a little bit of arch back. So reach through the crown of the head. Feel the thighs back, long, broad through the tailbone. Through the low back. Steady breathing. Okay, and then release the hands. Nice fold forward. All the way down, and then we'll go back to downward dog. And let's bring the right foot forward into pigeon. So the right knee's out a little bit to the right of the hip. The foot is by the top of the left thigh. And then lift your left knee off the floor, and then look over your right shoulder and look for your left foot. And as you do that, just bring the right hip back, get heavy on the outside of the right thigh, and then lower the left knee down and point your toes away from the heel. Okay, keep those actions in the legs, turn back forward, and lower down to your forearms. So stay broad in the back here. You can think of both thighs actually moving back toward the back. So the front of the thigh moving back toward the back of the thigh and broadening through the hips all the way up through the low back. And then scoop the tailbone. And keep that. And then every inhale, maybe a little length. Exhale, relax in the heart. Nice steady breath. Enjoy the opportunity. Yoga is so great because it's just this opportunity to be with yourself. So then you can go back out in the world as yourself, instead of that person who gets covered by tensions of life that can happen. All everybody wants is to see you, They don't want to see all that other stuff. Okay, slowly come up. And then bend at the back knee and reach for that back foot with your left hand to the inside of the foot. And if you can, just hold on to the foot and pull the foot more toward the hip. And then with the right hand, see if you can raise the right hand up. If you can't, just keep it on the floor. It's no big deal. But use the back as support. And breathe. It's a little bit more of an advanced posture, so just be safe and with yourself. You don't want to try to go so far that you lose that sense of home and you hurt yourself and you forget your true self, All right. Release. Go back to downward dog. Bicycle the feet out a little bit. And we can go ahead and go to the other side. So left foot forward, lower leg into pigeon. Keep the right knee up and then look over the left shoulder for the right heel. As you're looking, just point the toes, lower the heel down. And then come back forward and fold. Feel a broadness through your low back, long in the low back. It's like your back is just being like pancaked out a little bit. In the low back, it's nice to feel like, oh, there's so much space there. Just want to create space. Space and security. It's like the steadiness, it's ever-present steadiness physically, and then there's this ever-present steadiness in your heart. Okay, slowly come up, bend at that back knee, stay broad through the low back. Reach for that foot with your right hand. If you can hold on to the toes, great. And either stay here or raise the left hand up. Stay broad through the low back. Keep working the low back. Long through the tailbone. A nice bright heart. connecting to yourself, and then building on top of that. Okay, release that. Back to downward dog. Bend the knees broad through the back. A little scoop in the tailbone. Just really feel like between each vertebrae there's a little bit of length. All right, and then widen the knees, lower down. We'll come down to a child's pose. So here, reach your hands forward a little bit and reach your hips back. Really get that sense of being open in the back. Steadying the breath. Bring real awareness to the back body. Awareness to your heart, to yourself. All right, great. So let's come all the way up, and then we're going to lay down on our back. So scoot yourself around. Have your feet flat. Oh, that's nice. Arms along the sides, and then bring the feet a little closer in towards your butt. And from here, just lift the hips up a little bit slightly, and then feel heavier on the inner thighs, so let the inner thighs fall down and then widen as you set the butt back down. So that just creates a little bit more low back curve. And then scoop the tailbone slightly, so feel the stomach engage. So that's, you should just feel this broad, strong low back. Okay, then lift your hips and walk your shoulders in and release your fingers. Stay broad through the low back as you lift your heart to the sky. And as much as you reach your heart towards your chin, reach your knees forward and ground down in the feet. Really root down in the back of the head. And get real strong in the neck here. Just have that lifting, open, bright heart. Steady breathing. Okay, release the hands. Lower yourself back down. Take a couple breaths. Okay, good. So then from here, just bring your feet in and open your knees wide, and you can have your hands to your inner thighs. So your soles of your feet are touching. Just relax in the hips, open in the heart. Even here, still feel a nice broadness in the low back, even if with it on the floor or on the earth, wherever you're practicing, just feel that nice openness. All right, and when you're ready, extend your legs out, arms along the sides, coming into Shavasana. And just really, take full advantage of Shavasana. It's all about letting go, melting. And what you're melting is all the external stuff, that's been built on top of your home, top of your heart. So as best you can, meld all that and just return to yourself. We'll be here for a little bit and then come out of it. So just relax. Slowly allow your breath to deepen. And wiggle your fingers, your toes. Then you can extend your arms up over your head, nice and long. Good, and then roll yourself over to your right side. You can use your right arm as a pillow. Nice and comfortable here. I always think of this as home for sure, this posture. All right, and then take your time. Come all the way up. And just find a comfortable seat with your eyes closed. And again, just connect to your breath. Every exhale, be a little more grounded. Inhale, sit a little taller. Being with yourself in your practice. And go ahead and bring your palms together at your heart center. And we'll chant the sound of Om together one time. So go ahead and take a full exhale. A deep, sweet inhale. Om. Namaste. All right, thank you for practicing. Hope you enjoyed that. I'll see you next time.